Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This is me, Atiq Ahmad. Today we are going to study the topic difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. All cellular organisms, excluding viruses which are not cellular, they are on the border of living and non-living organisms. So all cellular organisms, they fall basically into two natural groups: prokaryotes or eukaryotes. And why there are two groups? Because there are two types of cells: prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. And there is huge difference between these two types of cells, prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. These two cells are totally different from each other. So all cellular organisms are basically divided into two types of organisms, either prokaryotic or eukaryotic, and this is basically due to the two different types of cells which are found in the living organisms. We will move towards teaching points. So prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells are small cells. They are less than 5 micrometer in diameter. Prokaryotic cells are comparatively small as compared to the eukaryotic cells, which are larger cells and they have a diameter more than 10 micrometer. So in animals, in plants, in fungi, and in protists, these four kingdoms basically consist of these eukaryotic cells, and these are larger cells. While in bacteria and cyanobacteria, prokaryotic cells are found, which are smaller in size, up to 5 micrometer. Now the prokaryotic cells, they are always unicellular. Bacteria and cyanobacteria, these are prokaryotic cells and they are always unicellular. While eukaryotic cells are not always unicellular. There are some unicellular eukaryotic cells, for example the protist cells, the amoeba, paramecium, chlamydomonas, plasmodium. These all are eukaryotic cells and these are unicellular. But there are also multicellular organisms which have eukaryotic cells. For example, animals including humans, monkeys, cats, etc., etc. Plants, these are multicellular and they have eukaryotic cells. Similarly, fungi are multicellular and they have eukaryotic cells. So prokaryotic cells are only found in unicellular bacteria and cyanobacteria, while the eukaryotic cells, they are found in unicellular, for example protist cells, plasmodium, paramecium, amoeba, etc., as well as in multicellular organisms, for example humans, all animals, plants, fungi, etc. Now another difference between the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells is no nucleus or any membrane bounded organelles. In prokaryotic cells, there is no membrane bounded nucleus and organelles. Membrane bounded means that there is no organelle which is covered by membrane. So prokaryotic cells do not have any organelle which is covered by membrane. They don't have nucleus. Nucleus is basically a double membrane structure which is found only in eukaryotic cells. But prokaryotic cells do not have any nucleus and any other membrane bounded organelle, any other membrane covered organelle. For example, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, these all are not found in these prokaryotic cells. While in eukaryotic cells, on the other hand, they have proper membrane bounded nucleus and proper membrane bounded organelles. They have proper nucleus which is a double membrane structure. They have proper organelles like endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus. They also have centrioles in animal cells, similarly chloroplasts in plant cells. These all are proper membrane bounded, means membrane covered organelles. Another difference between the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell is that DNA is circular without proteins. In prokaryotic cell, the DNA is usually circular and there is no proteins. While in eukaryotic cell, DNA is usually linear and associated with proteins to form chromatin. Now you people have studied in the previous grades in class 8. We have studied similarly in the early chapters of class 9. We have studied that the DNA of eukaryotic cell is linear and it is wrapped around proteins, structural proteins, which are known as histone proteins. So this is only found in eukaryotic cell. In prokaryotic cell, DNA is circular and there are no proteins. Another difference, in prokaryotic cells, ribosomes are small, 70s, while in eukaryotic cells, the ribosomes are large, 80s. Similarly, in prokaryotic cells, there is no cytoskeleton, cell skeleton. And in eukaryotic cells, there is proper cytoskeleton, cell skeleton in eukaryotic cells. Another difference between the prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells, that is motility by a rigid rotating flagellum made from flagellin protein. In prokaryotic cells, bacteria and cyanobacteria, there is a flagellum, a structure which is known as flagellum, and that is made of a flagellin protein, and that flagellum structure that is used for the mobility, for movement of the bacteria and cyanobacteria. While in eukaryotic cell, motility by flexible waving cilia or flagella made from tubulin. In eukaryotic cells, there are cilia and flagella basically in protist. In paramecium, suppose there is cilia. In chlamydomonas, there are two flagella. Similarly, in higher organisms, there are proper movement organs. For example, in humans, there are two feet with legs. So the motility is also different in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic organisms. Now, cell division is by binary fission. In prokaryotic organisms, the cell division is through a process which is known as binary fission, in which first the circular DNA of the bacteria is doubled, and then the two circular DNA are separated from each other, and then the cytoplasm break down at the mid and two new cells are produced. This process is called as binary fission. In eukaryotic cells, cell division is by meiosis and mitosis. We have already studied these two in the class 8 also, that there are two division processes, meiosis and mitosis. Meiosis is the process in which 4 haploid cells are produced, and this process occurs in the 6 cells, in the sperms and eggs, while mitosis is the process which occurs in all other normal body cells, somatic cells, all other cells except the 6 cells, and in this process one cell is divided into 2 cells. Another and the last point here, that is the reproduction is always asexual. In prokaryotic organisms, the reproduction process is always asexual. There is no sexual reproduction, means there is no production of 6 cells, sperm and eggs, while reproduction is sexual and asexual both in eukaryotic organisms. In eukaryotic organisms, there are certain organisms in which there is sexual reproduction, for example humans, for example plants, etc. Similarly, there are certain organisms in which asexual reproduction occurs. In some plants, the asexual reproduction process also occurs, which is known as budding. We will study that in class 11th in detail, inshallah. Now, examples of eukaryotic cells, those are bacteria and cyanobacteria. These two are examples of prokaryotic cells. Well, the examples of eukaryotic cells are animal, plants, protista, and fungi. So this is all about today's lecture. Next time, inshallah, see you with a new lecture. Take care. Allah Hafiz.